Perfect. Thank you. Everybody, we'd like to thank Warner for Warner Field. It's Fields is your last name,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep.
So the Fields of Profit just lines up perfect. So, yeah, I want to thank Warner Fields for showing up today and giving us his time. I found Warner's content on, I believe I first found it on YouTube and followed his content, and it kind of lined up exactly with what we have been talking about wanting to do as a group. And so I'm going to turn it over to Warner. He has some stuff prepared based on our questions and stuff that we've asked. And then we're just going to run into a open Q&A discussion like we typically do for these meetings. So Warner, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself personally, and then a little bit about your business, and just go with what you have prepared for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Marcus. As you said, my name is Warner. I am 22 right now. I started my Amazon business in 2018 as a freshman, and since then I've done a little over $1 million in sales. On track to do over $1 million just this year alone. So figuring some stuff out. So I've got a little bit of a slideshow for you guys. Just some very basic stuff if you are like brand new to Amazon, because I see a lot of you guys are like Facebook, that kind of thing. So if you're brand new to Amazon, we'll walk you through a lot of the basics here, and then we'll just open up to Q&A, get into more of the advanced stuff if you want to touch on that kind of stuff. But yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. Cool. So can you see my screen? Cool.
Looks good.
Yeah. So I'll skip over this one quickly. I don't like it when people are like, oh, this is a giant industry. Just really briefly touching on some statistics here. Third-party sellers alone did $300 billion in sales on Amazon. Over 22% of Amazon sellers sell over 100K per year, which I think is a crazy statistic. Just shows you the opportunity that's available. And 65% of sellers are like decently profitable, making over 10% profit margin. So there's a ton of opportunity. So let's go ahead and just dive into the like I said, the basics of it. If you want to start, go to sell.amazon.com. You're going to set up an account. You can do a free account, or you can also do a $40 a month account. If you are going to go ahead and sign up, I'd recommend just jumping in with the paid plan, especially for you guys in here who already have interest in e-commerce, because you're going to avoid a fee that happens when you have the free account. And it also lets you integrate some other softwares and stuff like that we'll talk about later when we start talking about some strategies and stuff you can use to find products. You're going to need the professional account, which is $40 to actually dive in and integrate those softwares. So the main ways you can sell on Amazon, there's plenty of different ways. I'm sure you've seen a lot of different videos, from the guys talking about doing the Alibaba all the way down to like scanning used books. So the first way is called private label. That's where you're sourcing products from China. You're going to slap your own branding on those products, try to improve the products in some way. I would call this like the big leagues of selling on Amazon, where you have to have a decent, you got to have decent capital. You're working with Chinese factories. It's definitely not for people who have no business experience or no Amazon experience, because it is quite tricky to, you're creating your own brand. So there's a lot of potential there also though, because you can sell those assets, sell those brands. Another more advanced way to sell on Amazon is doing wholesale, where you are working directly with big national brands, big national distributors. Again, not the most beginner-friendly method, because you are placing fairly large purchase orders, that kind of thing. And then the more like beginner-friendly models here. I do online arbitrage mostly in my business. I do a little bit of wholesale, but I've had some decent success doing online arbitrage, which is basically where I'm going to Walmart.com, Target.com, Walgreens.com, any of those websites, and looking for deals where I can flip it on Amazon. Generally, I'm looking for an item that I can sell for about twice of what I'm going to sell it for. Tends to be right where I like to find it for profitability. Retail arbitrage is very similar to online, except you're going into stores. You probably have seen this one on TikTok, Facebook videos, whatever. People going into Marshalls, scanning it with the Amazon seller app, that kind of thing. That's a good way to get started, but you will have trouble, scaling. And I know I don't like to, drive around and work, work hard going into stores, that kind of thing. Not that I don't work hard, of course, but that's not the kind of hustle I want to do, like going into the store, scanning stuff. It's a good way to start, but in my opinion, not the greatest model. And then you can also sell books. This is probably the most beginner-friendly way if you have, $500, $1,000 to set aside for an Amazon business, because basically you're going to be able to go into thrift stores. There's an app that you can use called Scout IQ. You can use that app, go into thrift stores, used bookstores, whatever, scan those books, and generally you're going to be able to find books that you can buy for $1, $2 at those thrift stores and flip them for upwards of 20, 30. I've even bought a book at a thrift store that I flipped for $330 before. So that was a pretty lucky day, definitely an outlier there. But yeah, so used books is a great way to start if you're brand new, don't have a lot of money, just want to learn the process. So another thing that we can talk about here, I know that this is a fairly unique thing to Amazon, is having the FBA program. The FBA program basically allows me to send in all my items that I want to sell all at once. So I'll send off, over 1,000 units a week is what I'm doing at this point. I ship those all off to Amazon. And then instead of every time an order sells, I having to package it all up, ship it out to the customers, Amazon does that all for me, handles the customer service, the returns, all that kind of stuff. So even if a lot of you guys who maybe do drop shipping, you're shipping it directly from the store to the customer, but you're still doing customer service, you're handling the returns, all that kind of stuff. But FBA will actually do that for you. And then there's also the more traditional way of selling, doing e-commerce where you're shipping directly from you to the customer, and that's called FBM, or fulfilled by merchant. And you're going to handle a lot of the shipping, customer service, that kind of thing. And there's different use cases for both. But in my personal business, I'm about 95% FBA. And I actually don't touch any of my products anymore. I haven't seen any of my products since late last year. They all go off directly to Amazon, directly through prep centers and stuff. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But that's what I really like about Amazon, is being able to leverage the FBA program so that I don't have to do the daily work of shipping out orders and worrying about all that kind of stuff. So this is just the very basic process. We'll get into kind of the step-by-step here. But super basically, you're sourcing an item. We'll talk about some strategies that you can use to source items. Then you get those items to your house. Generally, you're going to ship it to your house. Sometimes you can ship it to a third-party logistics provider. That's a little bit more of an advanced strategy. But that helps you kind of pull yourself out of the business. But one way or another, you're going to ship it, or someone you work with is going to ship it into Amazon for you. And then you're just going to sell the items and then replenish those items and repeat. So it's really not the most complicated process. Obviously, there's a lot of nuance within each step here. So let's go ahead and talk about the tools you're going to need specifically to kind of start finding some items. So there's one tool that I would call absolutely essential to any person who's trying to sell on Amazon. It's called Keepa. This tool right here, this is just a brief kind of picture of what it does for you. So the green line there is the sales rank, also known as basically just how fast the item is selling. And then that little purple line there is showing you the price over time. So we can use this kind of data, and obviously there's a lot more data within Keepa that we can look at to kind of predict the future of an item, to see where it was in the past, making sure we're not paying too much today. We don't want to look at an item, let's say it's selling for $20 today, but yesterday it was selling for $10. This tool is going to help protect us from making bad buying decisions, stuff like that. This tool is $20 a month. Some other tools that you might want to look into are the first one is called SellerAmp. This tool is $17 a month. I call it like the Swiss Army knife of Amazon seller tools. It does your profit calculations. You can do a method called reverse sourcing that we'll talk about here in a minute or two. Lots of other things. Inventory Lab is a software that's going to be useful for the process of actually shipping items into Amazon. And it's going to handle a lot of your bookkeeping, stuff like that. So you don't have big, giant spreadsheets trying to check this item sold here. I paid $6 for that. Let me go ahead and plug that in. This tool is going to kind of manage that kind of stuff for you. And then Be Cool is another tool. This helps do the part of the process where we're actually selling the items. This tool, it allows you to set a minimum and a maximum price for every item you're selling. And as long as the item's price is between that little range there, it's going to go ahead and automatically reprice your items up or down to make sure you're getting enough profit and also selling the item as fast as you should be selling the item. And then a more advanced tool that I like to use for sourcing products is called Tactical Arbitrage. This one is a fairly advanced tool, has a decent learning curve on it. It costs about $90 a month. And yeah, so this is like a bird's eye view of the tools that you might need. Like I said, we'll get into an in-depth like Q&A, that kind of stuff, filling in the blanks here. But those are the tools that I use for my Amazon business. So here's how you're going to be able to find products. Number one, Tactical Arbitrage. This is one of those tools I just talked about. Basically lets you plug in, let's say Walmart.com. I can plug in every grocery product at Walmart.com. Then it's going to spit out a giant list of all the products that are potentially, following that twice as expensive rule that I talked about, where let's say we can buy this grocery product for $10 from Walmart, and then over on Amazon it's selling for $20. This tool is going to automatically like scrape the website and try to find that kind of stuff for us. You can do leads lists and BOLO groups. Those two are very similar things. where you're paying for like a subscription service. Someone's out there finding the deals for you. A BOLO group is a little bit different in that it's like it's more for retail arbitrage, where we're going to the stores. So last summer, a lot of you guys might be familiar with the kind of reselling pools, chlorine, all that kind of stuff that was really limited in supply. So BOLO groups were really on that, talking about, hey, go to your Walmart, you can get this pool for $80, sell it for $300 on Amazon. So that's more like hunting for seasonal items and limited time deals, that kind of thing. Reverse sourcing is probably my personal favorite strategy. And the next couple of slides will break down that exact strategy so that it's not all abstract concepts and stuff for you guys. So basically, reverse sourcing is when we, finding products is hard. So you can kind of, go the backdoor route on that by looking at storefronts who are also doing online arbitrage, and then figure out what they're selling. Try to figure out if you can find it cheap enough to resell. And that's one of my favorite strategies. Just looking at what other people are selling, trying to find it cheap enough to also make a profit there. You've got manual sourcing, which is where you're doing, you're going to a clearance section of a website, you're copying and pasting those names. This is probably one of the more tedious ways to find profit, because you're looking item by item, don't have the luxury of the softwares that we use for doing tactical arbitrage and then doing that reverse sourcing. You can also do scanning in store, doing some retail arbitrage. That's a good way to start. And there's tons more ways to source products. There's a million ways to source, and I talk about all that kind of stuff on YouTube and within the FBA roadmap. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and break down one specific strategy that I like to use. So on the left, I've pulled up a Walmart brand product, which sells surprisingly fast on Amazon, considering most people should know they can just go to their local Walmart and buy this. So the reason I have a Walmart product pulled up here is because, like I talked about, the reverse sourcing, the sellers who are selling this particular item are also going to be selling other things they bought from Walmart, Target, other websites. Just, no one's getting brand direct accounts. No one's doing wholesale with Walmart, buying great value products. So all the sellers on this particular listing are doing a very similar business model to us. So what we can do is on SellerAmp, we could just go ahead and click on one of these sellers here. And that's going to pull up a page that looks like this with all of the items they sell. So this is just 2 items. You can see how, if a seller has a couple hundred items, you're scrolling through that, you have a bunch of data to look at. There's a couple different things that I like to look at when I'm doing this. For one, so like let's look at this product for an example. Right here, this is the Keepa chart that I talked about. So we can see over time the price of this item as well as how fast it was selling. Might be a little bit tricky to read if you've never seen a Keepa chart. Totally understandable there. But just a real quick crash course here, you can see the orange line, how it kind of stays at this level or above. That's the FBA price. So we know that this price is relatively stable. So that's like one way we can mitigate our risk, knowing that we're not going to be buying in on something that used to be way cheaper. And then another thing I like to look at when I'm doing this is the max cost box down here. So this is going to try to predict basically what I'm going to have to buy this item for in order to make whatever profit thresholds I look for. For me, I look for a 35% return on investment. So that's what this number is based on for me. So it's saying, hey, if you can buy this product for $6.86, this product's going to be profitable. And since this is just one can of shaving cream, I would imagine that this product we could go out and sell for $18.90 right here, buying it for a couple bucks. Not really sure what this exact brand costs, probably $5 or $6. But there's just one quick example. We could do the same thing for this. And, you can keep scrolling through a seller's products here. In this case, there's like 6 packs of this tablet. We'd have to buy all 6 of them for $5.64. So you can see, probably can't buy these for less than $1 each. I'll just keep scrolling here. So that's doing reverse sourcing. That's probably one of my favorite ways to source. Wanted to show off one, specific way you can go take action, try to find some products. And this uses 2 of those tools we talked about, Keepa and SellerAmp, to do reverse sourcing. If you want to Google that later, do some YouTube watching that sourcing method. So let's talk about the next part of the process. We found a product. We've used that one sourcing method to find a couple products that are profitable. To ship products into Amazon, you can use Seller Central. Amazon has, the default stuff you can use to send products in. In my opinion, Amazon's systems are pretty slow, inefficient for sending in items. I'm sure you're familiar with that. The platforms you're on, you're like, why is this built this way? Why do I have to use 6 different softwares to do this task? So that's where we use Inventory Lab. That makes my shipping process a lot faster. Talked about that a second ago. But something that's really awesome with selling on Amazon is this right here. I know this probably stuck out to a couple of you guys. Is that we only pay about 30 cents per pound to ship our products into Amazon. So that makes a lot of items that are, not profitable on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, all that kind of stuff, really big, heavy stuff, that can make those items super profitable on Amazon. And especially if you're looking at selling really light items, let's say vitamins or small books, that kind of thing. A lot of times you could pay as low as a dime or a nickel to send in your products to Amazon. Specifically, I sell a lot of vitamins and stuff that's really light. So I'm generally paying, not even a quarter per unit to ship my items into Amazon. And then I don't pay any extra shipping costs when Amazon ships it out to the customer. So super, super affordable there. That's one of the major benefits of selling on Amazon. But when you are doing FBA versus FBM, going back to that kind of discussion we had, if you do FBA, just naturally, you're shipping it out to a fulfillment center. It's all going to go to either one, maybe a couple fulfillment centers. And then from there, just because of the way Amazon Prime works, they're going to break that up to a bunch of smaller fulfillment centers so that your products are all over the country as much as possible. So naturally, there's going to be some distribution time there where it's shifting from fulfillment center to fulfillment center. And so sometimes it can be 2 to 4 weeks before your items are fully in stock, which if you are really low on cash flow is super important to you. That could be a pretty significant factor into slowing down your growth, which is where you might look into doing merchant fulfilling. But just wanted to touch on that. It's not all sunshine and roses in terms of cash flow, that kind of thing. You do have to pay up a little bit in terms of lead time in order to benefit from the, from them taking care of all the shipping, customer service, cheap shipping, all that kind of stuff. There is a bit of a trade-off there for you as a business owner. And when you're shipping your items into Amazon, obviously, if the first time you go in, create a shipment, having a YouTube video or something to guide you is going to be nice. There's plenty of them out there. But very briefly, this is what your items are going to look like when you go ahead and send those items into Amazon. You're just going to put what's called an FNSKU label on the product. This just tells Amazon, hey, this is my product. Don't send somebody else's product, even though it's the same thing, to that customer, because I took care of my items. I did quality control on those items. And so I know exactly what the customer is going to get when it ships out. And then over here, this is just like one of your boxes that you'll go ahead and send into Amazon. So you'll have your UPS label is usually where the shipping, you're going to go ahead and buy your shipping through UPS. Or you can do, some cities have Amazon shipping. I don't have that privilege. That's kind of a big city privilege right now, but it'll be rolling out. And I imagine the shipping is probably going to be even cheaper when they start doing that. And then on the right over here, you're going to have your FBA label. This just tells Amazon what's in each box so that they know, okay, we checked in this box. You've got 20 units of, this little cream here, and you've got 10 versions of this book. All right, we're going to go ahead and put that in your inventory. Maybe we'll shuffle it around a little bit. But the shipping process is fairly straightforward. The first time you create a shipment, you'll probably be like, what is going on here? There's so many labels and steps. But once you do it, do it the second or third time, you're like, oh, I see. I'm just putting a label here, putting it in a box. There's a learning curve, a pretty steep learning curve with Amazon, as with most things that are worth your effort and your time. So that's just briefly how shipping works. Going into a little bit about me, and again, we'll open it up into the Q&A here in a second. But me on the left, that's me. Last December, December 21, I graduated from college. And then during that same time period, I was able to do about $620,000 in sales on Amazon. This was not my net profit from December alone. While I was doing finals and, wrapping up, trying to graduate college, I was still able to make about $20,000 in my Amazon business. And then so far this year, I'm looking at about $267,000 in sales. I'm shooting to do about 1.5 million in sales this year, just doing the online arbitrage sourcing method. So there's a ton of potential out there. And obviously within that, I've made a lot of mistakes. And if you're the kind of person who wants to, invest in a bit of a roadmap, outline everything for you, we do have that resource available for you guys. With the FBA roadmap, basically everything I know about selling on Amazon. You get a private Discord. When you're selling on Amazon, you have to get ungated in a lot of products. So in this guide, we're going to show you how to get ungated in selling all those different kinds of products. We talk with some of the members of the course, as well as some experts who are a lot smarter than me, a lot better than me at some of the business models we talked about. Really add some value there. We get you discounts on the prep centers and so that you don't have to, ship everything to you, ship it out to Amazon. Instead, we'll get you some discounts. So you can ship to the prep center ships to Amazon. Helps you be a lot more automatic there. Plus, there's that money back guarantee. So if you don't make money, I don't make money either. That seems pretty fair to me. And just real quickly here, wanted to show you some of the success we've had. But if you're the kind of person who wants to invest in something that kind of shortcuts the learning process, I'm super confident in the value there. But yeah, that's what I've got for you guys. I know it's super, it's on the more basic level. So I'm excited to see what kind of questions you guys have and get more into the weeds on this.
I'm ready to, yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's interesting, a lot of the stuff, like the shipping thing. I'm kind of blown away with the shipping costs. I really had no idea. That's where I was like trying to figure this out. Like, okay, you ship it from the store, like it's going to eat into all the how much I have to deal with shipping. So it's great. Thank you. It was a great presentation. I did get you. What we can do is we can kind of go over a few of those questions that that we submitted ahead of time. If you want to touch on those a little bit, real quick, maybe for like 5 minutes or so, and then we'll open it up. So, did you want us? We could go over those. Lisa has those questions pulled up.
Yeah, I've got them pulled up over here.
Okay,
so
cool.
I'll go ahead and I'll just go ahead and read. Somebody asked how much startup capital do I have, and how much do you need to be prepared to put in first? Takes money to make money thing. So when I first started my business, I started selling used books. I went out to the thrift stores, doing that business model I talked about briefly. It is a lot of work, but as an 18-year-old, starting college, I had time. I didn't have a lot of money to get started. So I started with about $1,000, just scanning used books. And you can see how, if you're buying books for $1, $2 at a time, turning that into, $5, $10 in profit per book, you can grow your capital really fast. And so I kind of opted for the route of trading my time to increase my capital. And then later on, I was able to roll that into doing arbitrage, that kind of stuff. Because, when you don't have a lot of money, but you have a lot of time, you can leverage that time. Obviously, this is basic economics, leverage that time to create more money. And then once, you get more and more money, it's a game of figuring out how to use that money to save you time. So it's a different decision there. But yeah, so I started with used books, maybe a tangent. Hopefully that was valuable. But yeah. About $1,000 is what I did for used books.
Cool. Taylor, did you have a question on that was real? I think that was your question, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
That was my question. That was. Okay. First of all, where were you flipping books that well? Because that's crazy.
Just Amazon. Yeah.
Okay. So you were still using Amazon. So you started out with Amazon.
Yep.
Okay. So, and then roughly like 1,000, because I think somebody in the group last night had commented something like 1,800, 18%, something. Marcus, do you remember all that?
Yeah, I see the comment pulled up over here.
Okay, cool. There you go.
They said you'll get an average 18% return on your inventory, which was for a wholesaler. So, if you're thinking about a wholesaler who's buying in massive volume, like their whole game is how do I spend as much money as possible? Whereas for a lot of you newer sellers, you're going to be focused on, I want to make 100% profit on this, or I want to make 50% profit on this item. So for a more realistic like return on investment with arbitrage, what I do, even at the scale I'm at a 42% return on investment so far this year.
Okay.
So for every dollar I spend, I make 42 cents. And then with books, that's a lot higher, but going back to leveraging your time instead of money that way.
Okay. So yours is closer to, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Lisa.
So my question is, when you first started off and you were selling books, my mom sells a ton of, also sells books on Amazon, but she doesn't scan them. She'll go into like a Goodwill, into the buy bins and things like that, and she'll look for books that way. How did you find your books?
Yeah. So I use a tool called Scout IQ. Basically, it is a database of every book that's listed on Amazon. You can download it before you go into the thrift store. I know a lot of thrift stores are, somewhere bad reception. The walls are metal, so you don't get a lot of reception. So you can download that data and be a lot faster. And I would pair that. It's just an app on my phone, and I would pair that with a Bluetooth scanner, just like a $40 Bluetooth barcode scanner. Go into the thrift store, throw in my podcast, and just scan literally every book on the shelf. And I know exactly how fast the book is selling, what it has sold for in the past, how many copies are selling, all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Robbie, I think I saw your hand up there a minute ago.
Yes. Sorry about earlier. I had I had salmon burning. The lid came off and was melting a bread bag. And if I sounded short, I'm very sorry. I was doing like 5 things at once. Couldn't find the audio button. So Werner, I know who you are because I actually studied your program. Do you have a YouTube on the book selling and scanning and everything?
Yeah, I talk about that on YouTube.
I know who you are, and I actually studied your stuff last summer before I got really involved in dishes. And you're a
Cool.
remarkable young man.
Thank
I
you.
thought you were going to say that I graduated college and then I bought it. I bought the college. But I'm really impressed with this, and I'm so glad I came today to listen. And I just want to tell you that good job, and I would love to involve myself in something like this. Unfortunately, I can't even really sign on to my iPhone very well. So my technology skills are not there. But thank you for being here, and thanks for coming today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Those are very kind words.
All right. I think we had I think there was another question or two that was different than, unrelated. Lisa, if you want to take a look at those, or Warner, I know you have it up as well.
Yeah.
So if you want to
Yeah, I see. Someone said, what is my ad strategy for ad spend? Am I outsourcing it? Yeah, so there was a couple other questions. So I'll answer that one first. So the beauty of doing online arbitrage, the way I sell most of my products is I'm already selling name brand products. The great value product you saw, or, a Nike product, or, tons of products you see on the shelf. That's mostly what I'm selling. So there's no need to drive ads to those products because people are already buying those products. That's more a question for like a private label seller who, again, that's why I kind of called it the big leagues, where I'm just selling name brand stuff. I know exactly how fast it's selling. I know, how much I can buy it for. So I have a lot more data to go off of versus if you're creating the product, doing private label, you're going to have to source it from factories. You're not going to know how fast it's going to sell. You're going to have to invest in ads because no one's already buying your product. No one's seen your brand name before. So that's kind of another reason why I highly recommend doing one of these business models that doesn't involve like creating your own products and stuff like that.
Great. Well, it's always good to hear. That's part of the reason why a lot of us do so well on Facebook is marketplace. I mean, you can spend some money to boost or some ad spend, but really you don't need to hardly spend any for ad spend. The traffic just comes because that's what folks are looking for already.
Yeah.
Cool.
I really like that. There's a couple like exceptions where I have a couple like accounts with wholesalers where I'll say, hey, if you give me a discount, I'll run ads for you, so that you can do some value exchanges there. But I'm not going to negotiate with Nike that I'm going to run ads for. I'm giving me discounts. Like that Nike's not going to talk to me. So most of the time you're not going to be running ads. So I had there was a couple questions in her comment there. She asked if I was 100% FBA. I kind of answered this one earlier, but I'm like 95% FBA, just because it's all done for me. And then there's a little bit left that my sister actually works for me, so she's the one who touches a lot of the returns and that kind of stuff, and she handles all of our FBM orders.
Cool.
Somebody had Lisa.
So how do you handle your returns?
Yeah, that's a good question. So with FBA, you're sending your products in, sends to the customer. Customer says, oh, it didn't fit. I don't like this product, whatever. It's going to send back to FBA, to the fulfillment center. And then a warehouse worker is going to say, oh, the customer never even took the little paper out of the shoes. They never wore the shoes. We're just going to go ahead and sell them again. But goes back in your inventory. But let's say they bought vitamins. They opened the bottle. They wore the shoes for a week and returned them. Then they're going to say, okay, this is unfulfillable. And then it sends back to your house. So from there, I'm going to eBay a lot of that stuff. Honestly, a lot of times you'll get a fulfillment center worker who, for whatever reason was like, maybe they're just clicking unfulfillable all day. So you'll get a lot of stuff that comes back to you that still looks brand new. Can go ahead and send that back in. Luckily, it's not too big of an added expense because we do get that cheap shipping there. But the stuff that is maybe a little damaged, that kind of stuff, I'll eBay. And the stuff that's really damaged, I'll just bring in a big box to family Thanksgiving, family Christmas. So I'm always popular at family Christmas because I'm the guy with 15 bottles of conditioner that somebody, returned. And that kind of stuff.
Would you be able to speak to a little bit more why, if so it amazes me that for example, great value is sells so well. I mean, I think I've personally purchased some great value stuff on Amazon just because I liked it and I didn't want to go to Walmart. Is that the driver for those sales on that, or can you speak?
Yeah.
It seems weird. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it obviously works. Yeah.
Yeah, and doing this, I'm sure a lot of you, doing drop shipping, Facebook Marketplace, you're like, why are people paying this? But most of the time, it's just the added convenience. Like I know, like earlier this week, I needed a new pair of gym shoes. So instead of waiting for the 5-day shipping from a bunch of the shoe websites, I just paid like $20 extra to get it in 2 days from Amazon. So most of the time, it's just going to be like convenient shoppers. And a lot of people only trust Amazon or only trust Amazon and Walmart.com, and they don't want to go into any of these other websites. I mean, Amazon made it really, really easy. And talking about returns, a lot of people say like, oh, returns is the worst part of Amazon. They can return it for any reason. But would Amazon be as big? Would we have as many sales if the return policy wasn't as great? So it's all about the full experience, and I think that's why people pay so much for products on Amazon.
Cool. Lisa, go ahead.
I got plenty of questions. Number one, you mentioned using Walmart, Target, some of those other big stores to be able to fulfill your merchandise. For example, let's use Walmart, for example. They have their Plus program that you can purchase to be able to buy things in. Do you use the Plus program? And do you know that when you're buying stuff from Walmart on the online, that you're actually buying it from Walmart or maybe even other suppliers that are selling from Walmart? And how does that work? Do you even have to use the Plus program, or do you just buy it because you're buying over $35?
Yeah. Yeah. So with doing OA, your OA, online arbitrage. So I say these words all the time. So with OA, most of the time if you're buying less than the free shipping threshold, it's probably not even worth buying that item. You're buying 2 or 3 of them. Typically you're going to be buying 10, 20, 100 of the item you're selling. So you're always going to be over that free shipping threshold. And specifically with Walmart Plus, and this kind of gets into another challenge of this business model, is Walmart Plus doesn't like resellers because they lose money on that program, even to regular consumers. So if you're buying stuff for resale on a Walmart Plus account, they'll shut down your account after a little bit, because it's designed for people to, order a package a week, and maybe Walmart makes money. It's not designed for you to buy 100 packages a day, all delivered same day. But talking about the thing where you can see who you're buying it from, on Walmart, there's the third party. You can sell third party on Walmart as well. When you buy the item, it'll say shipped and sold from Walmart or shipped and sold from blah, blah, blah. And as a general rule, I just stick to Walmart and suppliers that I know I can trust to not be sending me, fake stuff or bad customer experience, that kind of thing. But yeah, so going back to kind of the Walmart Plus, like them not liking resellers thing, that is another challenge of this business model, a whole nother part of the game where some websites like Chewy and Target really, really hate resellers. Whereas Walmart, you can buy as much as you want and they'll never cancel your orders as long as you don't use Walmart Plus. With Target and Chewy, a couple other very picky websites, if you buy 30 units of the same thing, they're going to send you an angry email saying, hey, you're a reseller, we canceled your order. So then you get into the game of finding suppliers that don't cancel your orders, using multiple email addresses, using employee credit cards. Like there's a whole different system if you really want to get to massive scale. But a lot of that kind of stuff you don't have to worry about until you're really getting, into scaling your numbers up when you're like, hey, I need to buy 500 of this. Which then, if you're there in your business, you're like, hey, I need to buy 500 of this. They keep canceling my orders. That's where a lot of people start migrating into wholesale. And that's where I'm kind of slowly transitioning my business so that instead of placing the same order, 50 times, I can just send an email to a wholesaler saying, hey, can you give me 500 of these, 300 of these, and I'm done with it.
How is it that, for example, you buy the lotion or the conditioner like you were talking about, that everybody and their dog isn't already doing that?
Yeah.
And sending it in. How do you manage that and know that you're still going to be able to sell and that everybody isn't already buying all of the Walmart conditioner supplies and sending it into Amazon?
Yeah. So just the basics of how sales work on Amazon is if you are within a couple percentage points of what's called the buy box price. So when you go to Amazon, you click add to cart, that's the buy box. And that's going to evenly rotate between sellers who are usually FBA, but it's just going to determine who can get it to the customer the fastest and is within a couple percentage points of that buy box price. So the sales are going to evenly rotate among all the people who meet those criteria, Usually it's going to be a couple FBA sellers who are within a couple percentage points of that price. And then once you start doing that, the sales are rotating evenly, but obviously there's, I'm doing this. A couple of you guys might do this. A lot of people I talk to do this. So yeah, there is competition. And a lot of the game of this business model is finding coupons and baking in cash back, having a good cash back on your credit card, using sites like Rakuten, that kind of stuff. I'm sure you guys are familiar with a lot of those kind of tricks for doing drop shipping. So a lot of that is, I call that manufacturing your margin, where you're finding coupons and cash back. And that kind of builds a moat around you. If you can have the most manufactured margin, no one's gonna be able to undercut you. And that's the real like biggest key to online arbitrage. Cause yeah, everyone and their brother can run a scan of Walmart using tactical arbitrage. It says, hey, this product is $8 selling on Amazon for 18. Everyone and their VA is doing that, right? So when you start to get into, oh, this product is a 2-pack, but the software doesn't see that. So that's, a barrier to entry there. Or this product you're able to get for 40% off, but next week the coupon's gone, so no one else can get it as cheap as you did, unless they bought it that week. So that's where you can kind of create moats for people who are going to come in and try to undercut you, just having the lowest cost basis there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Did you have any other questions, or should I go to the the Facebook post?
Go ahead and go to the Facebook. Well, actually, Alex has a question.
Yep.
Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, thank you. Thanks, Warner, for being here. A couple questions. So the buy box, is that helped along? I'm assuming that's an algorithm. Correct me if I'm mistaken. That it cycles through, and is part of that algorithm include good customer service reviews that might drive you to be in the buy box or be shown more for your product?
Yeah, there's a lot of smaller factors. The biggest factors are price and FBA. But obviously, if you have 10,000 positive feedback, you might see a slight increase in your buy box. If you're stocked deeper than other people, you might have a slight increase. You're thinking about how maybe let's say I have 5 in stock total, and it's at it's in this state, in this state, in this state, but you have 100 in stock, so you're a lot more likely to be within 2 days of someone. So there's a bunch of smaller factors that go into play there. But the most important and the things that are going to massively dictate is just price and being FBA. Every now and then there's going to be other factors have a bigger role to play, but 99% of the time that's the biggest things to worry about.
Second question to pricing. I sounded like you mentioned a conditional setting in one of the softwares. Is that where, in addition to the coupons that you're adding in for the moat that you described, is the software you're using sort of competitively pricing your version of a shaver cream to someone else's as also one of the factors to be in the buy box?
Yeah. So some repricers get really fancy. Some of them are really basic and cheap. But so the one I use, let's say I look at the Keep a chart and I see that the item sells anywhere from 15 to 20 bucks. So on my repricer, I'm going to go in and set whatever prices I'm happy with selling it. Maybe I'm not profitable enough at 15, but I'm happy with 16. So I would go set my minimum at 16 and then my maximum at 20 or 25. Maybe if the price goes up, you can do whatever you want there. But when the price is between those prices, every 15 minutes, my software that's called Be Cool is going to go in and say, hey, this seller is more expensive than you by a dime. You're too cheap now. It's going to raise the price. I'm going to make a little bit more profit. Let's say that same seller lowered the price by a quarter. My repricer is going to say, hey, it's still within your price range. You're still happy with making sales here. We're going to cut it by a quarter so you keep making sales.
So the software is scraping Amazon.com to see what other folks who are selling the same shaver cream are pricing it as, and it'll adjust it based upon the range that you set it in the software?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Every 15 minutes.
Yeah. And that's just for the tool I use. Some tools will be slower, some tools will be faster. And you can get really, really fancy. Like a lot of tools are powered by like advanced AI, that kind of thing. And some tools you can just say, hey, when the price lowers, match their price. When the price goes higher, go higher. So you can get really simple, you can get really advanced with your repricing strategies.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh, and real quick, the coupons. So if you're wholesaling, are you not needing coupons because you're getting the per unit cost and a volume play a lot lower?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah. I mean, it's
okay.
just naturally like the wholesalers are generally going to be able to get it cheaper than a retail store is selling it. Although that's not always true. Like a lot of the smaller wholesalers, like Walmart, is cheaper. Like I'm looking at a price sheet and like, bro, your prices are more expensive than Amazon. Like, where's the profit here? So you're gonna have to find those bigger distributors and stuff. So it's not, wholesale isn't as easy as it might sound to some people. It's like a relationship game. It's fairly advanced. But if you
Gotcha.
want to get into the 8-figure years, it's almost inevitable that you'll have to dabble in that.
And the quote unquote coupons, where are you finding those coupons for a
Yeah,
particular
just
product?
just a honey extension, Rakuten extension, same as everyone else shopping. A lot of times it'll be on the banner of the website. It'll say, buy one get one half off vitamins. Use code blah blah blah, and that just creates like I was talking about a moat, so that next week someone comes, that same product that you saw was profitable isn't profitable anymore.
Copy that.
And yeah, and if you actually get the right coupons, you can compete with massive wholesalers. So for example, like there's a Walgreens sale that I like to take advantage of pretty often, where you can stack, like it's like a buy one get one free vitamin on top of a 15% off code. So it basically makes vitamins 40% off. There's a nugget for you guys. Basically makes all the vitamins on Walgreens like 60% off total. So when I do that, a lot of times my costs are actually cheaper than some of the biggest wholesalers on Amazon. And so I'm actually able to undercut them on some listings because I'm using that strategy.
So you'll do a volume play on that 60% off total off the website?
Yeah, when you have a limited time deal like that, especially if you've sold it in the past, have some real data to know how fast it exactly sold for your store. Yeah, I go all in on that. Get like a month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months worth of stock, so that you can be in stock until the same sales roll back around.
Last question for me so far before we move on. Would you recommend focusing on maybe just up to 5 products if we are past the used book stage and we're trying to go to the next step in this game? Would you recommend to focus on just a handful of products, or should we go really wide? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, as a brand new seller, I would generally recommend going way wider on, buy 5 units of this, 8 units of this, see how fast different things sell, so you can, learn the process of, oh, here's how I was winning the buy box a bunch here. Here's what I did. Here's the mistake I made here, where, oh, I didn't notice that the price was way cheaper last week and I bought it and now the price is too cheap again. So you'll learn a lot cheaper mistakes if you're going wider, getting a lot more exposure to different, just different things happening. You'll learn from each situation.
So that software is a must then. That's like it's like $200 a month to get into the software side of things if you really want to.
Yeah, I mean,
this a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
It's just
I
too much on the
generally,
brain to do it manually. You gotta use the software.
Yeah, if you are just getting started out, I generally recommend getting Keepa and SellerAmp, and just using those 2 things to find tools or to find profitable products. And then once you get your first little bit of sales, jumping in with Inventory Lab and Be Cool. And then if you want to get fancier down the line, you can start adding in the $90 a month software. There's plenty of other more advanced softwares. But those 4 can get you really far. Like you could be doing $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month in sales just with those 4 tools, fairly easily. If you once you learn what you're looking for.
Copy that. Thank you.
So
Marcus.
what's your if you think back over the last, I don't remember how long 2008, when did you start?
Yeah, 2018.
2018. What's your what was your hardest mistake that you made? Like the hardest to deal with? Just deal with it, and then like your biggest, like how much it cost you. Like if you want to share, you don't have to share.
Yeah, so I'll start with the answer you're looking for, which is like direct cost. The worst mistake I've ever made is buying $1,500 worth of something that I did not read carefully enough on, and the return policies on the website it was a Walgreens item, and it's really difficult to return stuff to Walgreens. And I actually did that like 2 months ago. So I was you get a little cocky, you get too comfortable. It's like, oh, that was that actually was a mismatch. So I actually just ended up donating that. But that's by far the most expensive mistake I've made. In terms of the answer I usually give is I sold used books for way too long. And the reason why that was a massive mistake is because the opportunity cost of doing that. I sold used books and only used books for just under the first 2 years of selling on Amazon. So I really haven't been doing the arbitrage thing that long until it really clicked. I sold almost $200,000 worth of used books. The margins are great, all that. I don't have any complaints about the money I made, but it's just a massive time sink. And I could have been investing all that money I was making doing books into arbitrage and just doing the same thing, sitting at home, instead of going out to the stores, scanning books, that kind of thing. I traded my time for too long, and that probably cost me, probably $100,000. If I had to give a number to it, is what I could have made if I had, known what I know now and taken action on arbitrage sooner.
Did you get some weird looks when you're doing the Bluetooth scanner? I have never seen anybody I've heard of it, but I've never seen anybody doing it before.
Occasionally, the thrift store workers, like there's usually like 3 or 4 guys in every town who do it. So they know what you're doing. They've seen it before, but a lot of times like other people at the store will think you're an employee. They'll be like, "Hey, we're blah blah blah." I'm like, "No, I'm actually just scanning books."
Cool. Anybody else have anything, whether it's related, unrelated? Anybody?
I had there's
Oh,
another question on the
Okay.
Facebook.
Yeah.
I can they asked if I was doing any Amazon Canada or global. And yeah, I actually do sell in Canada and Mexico because of a really cool program that Amazon FBA has. It's called remote fulfillment. So I have it's about 20% of my listings are automatically just cross-posted according to what Amazon thinks that they can just ship across the border for you. And so they're automatically cross-posted on .ca and .mx. And so when one of those customers looks, they're going to see my products, even though my products aren't in Canadian and Mexican fulfillment centers. They're just going to be more expensive. Like it's going to add the import duties onto the price there. And it's not like a major sales boost. Like about 3 to 4% sales boost is what I saw when I turned those on. Like in the last week, I've done 28,000 on .us, and then I've done like 800 in Canada, like 200-300 in Mexico. So it's a really small boost, but that program's really cool because it just automatically does that for you.
It's probably due to, I would imagine that's going to increase quite a bit over the next couple of years as well.
Yeah, I mean, politics and stuff could affect that, but it's nice while it's here. It's probably not going to be here for decades, but yeah, it's a cool program.
Alex, go ahead.
Thank you. Piggybacking on the Mexican cross-posting, does Amazon or do you change the language or do you leave it in English?
Yeah, so it finds the same listing for the UPC. Like it does all that for you. So it's going to take like that's why it's not 100% of my products is it just finds listings it knows are matches in terms of being the same UPC, same exact product. And it's just going to say, oh, you've got 20 of these. Here's the Mexican listing for that product for the same UPC. We're just going to go ahead and throw your stock in there. So it does go. It does change language.
So let me give a hypothetical. Correct me if I misunderstand it. So Marcus has 5, you have 10 of the shaver cream. You hit the cross post setting. Now Marcus's listing shows 15 total, and if someone buys 6, it's 5 from Marcus plus yours, and then yours will just get sent over in a separate or the same box.
That's a very specific situation. I'm not sure that's yeah, I'm not sure how they would treat that. I would imagine you'd have to have all of it in stock. Like if you ordered 6, I bet it would just give me all the sales. But yeah, I've never thought about that, to be honest. I'm not sure how they would treat that.
But if it's being sent in through FBA, then it wouldn't matter whose stock it was, as long as like you might get so many sales or Marcus might get so many sales, for example, but it's still being shipped out in the same package, right?
Yeah. The way it works when someone buys multiple is it gives one person all the sales. So let's say a customer checks out with quantity 3. Like I'll see an order on my dashboard that says they ordered 3 units and I got all the sales. That's an interesting thought process. I've never thought about how the buying multiple quantities at once, like how they treat that on the back end. But yeah, usually when they do that in the US, that's how it works. So I'd imagine it's the same for MX in Canada.
Gotcha.
But when you're buying on Amazon, it specifically says who the seller is that you're purchasing from.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to buy 5 and that seller only had 3, it wouldn't give you the option of having like 10 because somebody else had it.
Yeah. Oh, I actually know the answer now. Yeah. So you would try to add 3 to cart. Or you would try to add 5. It would say this seller only has 3, and then you could go pick another seller and add 2.
Oh, okay. That makes
That's what it would do. Yep.
When you mentioned cross posting, you said your inventory would be added to the equivalent UPC in
Yeah.
Mexico.
Yeah.
So if I'm a customer and I go to Marcus's and I see Marcus's shaver cream in Mexico, and he has 5 and you have 10, it's a total of 15. If yours is being added to him because it's the same UPC and I order 6, would it be just given to you and then they ship it across the border?
It would depend on who has the buy box. So like if Marcus had the buy box, he would try to add 6. It would say this person only has 5, and then you could add from a different seller.
Got it. Okay. And do you write the titles and descriptions, or are you using software to pull that in from somewhere?
Yeah, you don't have to write the listings or anything like that. When you list a product, you're just going to through Seller Central or through Inventory Lab, you're going to use the ASIN is what it's called. It's Amazon's version of a UPC basically. You're going to say, hey, I have this item. Since this item already exists on Amazon, I don't have to do anything in terms of looking at the bullet points, the title, all that kind of stuff. It's just going to say, oh, I have this product. I have 20 of them. And it's just going to automatically submit all that under the same listing it's already written.
So wait a minute. So is that in layman's way of saying Amazon will use software to literally duplicate somebody else if they find that your product is identical to something else that's published?
If your product is identical, it goes on the same listing. So you're not going to see 2 listings for the same thing. Like if you open up your phone, you go to an Amazon product page, it's going to say buy now or buy from 8 other sellers, and you can click and see who else is on the listing. And so everyone who has that particular product is on that single listing.
Those are the same products, meaning the 8 others who are selling this. That's what you mean by the listing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then instead of eBay and all that kind of stuff, where you create a listing, and then once your listing sells, you get the sales. All 8 sellers in this situation are all in the same listing, and that's why the buy box is important, where the sales are going to evenly rotate among sellers, similar price, similar fulfillment speeds. Just as though you were shopping on eBay and there's 3 different listings, you're going to pick the guy who has the fastest shipping, lowest price, right? So Amazon just does the same thing, except instead of having 3 listings, it just aggregates that data and says, here, consumer, here's the best product for you to buy.
Oh, so okay. So they use a round robin with a filter of
basically,
particular conditional statements that would be fastest and best as far as price and time to deliver for the customer.
Yeah.
All right. Makes more sense.
Cool.
But they don't, like if I go and I look at shaving cream and I decide not to buy it and Warner's in that box, then the next person that comes in to look for shaving cream, it's probably not going to go to Warner's box. It's going to go to Marcus because he was the next in the line, right?
It usually just goes by sale. So one seller gets a sale, and then it goes next seller, they get a sale, and it's going to go in sale order. Because the idea is that everyone who, in a perfect world, if everyone had the same stock, same location, same price, same fulfillment speed, it would be a perfectly even distribution of sales, not views on the listing.
So do you actually look and see how many sellers there are on a product before you purchase it, even if it does have a good profit margin?
Yeah, and that's part of the decision-making process where, you go and you look at a product that sells 50 times a month. There's only 2 sellers on it. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and, I'll sell 20 or so of these. Let's say the same product has 30 sellers on it and 15 of them are within the price point where they might be getting sales. I don't really want to sell 2 units of something in a month. So I'm not interested in that.
Wow.
I think it's a different mindset than all of us that are. I mean, there's folks on here that have done eBay for years and years and years, but as far as marketplace goes, it's a different mindset for us. I think that's why we're kind of struggling to grasp that concept. It's a lot more random, and then once a seller gets momentum on that particular item, then that item just there could be other ones. Once you have momentum going on a particular item, then you're the one that keeps getting it. And so we're coming to about an hour. I want to make sure and give you some time to tell us about what you have as far as your program, what you guys do, your course. I don't know if you call it a course. Tell us where we can find you and about that, and then we'll wrap up here at an hour.
Yeah, I again appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, if you want to go learn, I always encourage you to absorb as much free info as possible. I'm not gonna sell you a course right out the gate. So if you want to learn more about this opportunity, I am Fields of Profit on pretty much any social media platform. I think my YouTube videos are pretty valuable. I've got about 20,000 subs, so I think some people think so too. So that's a good resource for you guys to learn more on online arbitrage. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. You can find me there. Feel free to shoot me a DM if you have any quick questions, anything like that. And then if you are the we actually have got even more freebies for you guys. If you want to join a free community just like you guys are already in, that we have the Amazon Launchpad is what it's called, which is our Discord server. Tons of free information in there. We give away information that most people charge for, and most people charge for Discord groups and stuff like that. So that's called the Amazon Launchpad. You should just be able to Google it, and you'll find it that way. And then if you are the kind of person who wants to invest, fast track the knowledge process, we do have our course, the FBA Roadmap. Tons of value, 9+ hours of content, tons of software bonuses, all that kind of stuff. I briefly touched on that earlier. We've had a lot of student success. Very, very little people have asked for their money back, even though we don't ask questions. So I think it's a good testament of the value there. So if you're the kind of person who wants to fast track the knowledge there, we do have the FBA roadmap if you want to check that out. But yeah, it's been a blast hanging out with you guys. I'd love to see you watching the free content, learning a little bit more about it. But yeah, it was a good hang out with you guys today.
Awesome. And I'll make sure and grab all the links and everything, and we'll have it in our post.
Cool. Yeah.
Post write up that Lisa does for us every time. So cool. With that, I think let's call it a day. And Warner, appreciate your time. That was a ton of value. Got me excited. I'm gonna take a look at some stuff a little differently, I think. So
yeah, awesome.
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.